On August 20th, 2024, Taylor Diaz walked into the lab to find Ana Garcia dead on the floor. Ana Garcia's body was found face down, with blood on the table and blood surrounding her head. Surrounding her body was her phone, a beaker, a bottle of fluid, and a microscope, as well as her phone. On her body was a strand of hair, a fly, and there was a sticky note crumpled up nearby. One of the first things investigators did for the crime scene was take statements for anyone possibly involved. This was done through a polygraph test. Each person was strapped up to the polygraph test, asked 2 questions for a baseline of respiratory and heart rate. Afterwards, they were asked a series of 4 questions that were all case relevant. After the polygraph tests were conducted among the suspects, the results were taken back to be examined. One of the questions that were the most important was which individuals may not have been telling the truth. Based on the examinations of the baseline and the questions asked afterward, Ana Garcia's boyfriend Eric Piedmont and her stalker classmate Sam Greeny came out to be possibly lying. After the polygraph test was conducted and examined thoroughly by investigators then turned towards the fingerprints and hair analysis. The fingerprints were found across the lab due to Ana Garcia touching multitudes of the equipment and also an unidentified set of fingerprints. When examined, the fingerprints belonged to Ana Garcia's boyfriend Eric Piedmont. The hair that was found upon Ana Garcia's body was then examined. This was also Eric Piedmont's. Investigators then looked towards digital evidence. There was a multitude of posts, stories, and text messages and emails found on Ana Garcia's phone. One thing investigators were looking at when looking through her social media text messages and emails was to find if there was any possible motive for her murder. They found a multitude of possible issues with it. One was Sam Greeny due to the scholarship not being given to Sam, and 2 with Eric Piedmont, her boyfriend, after the small disagreement throughout it and having a lot of tension through their text messages. Next thing investigators did was look at the blood. The blood found in the crime scene was found on the table and found on the floor around Ana Garcia's head. Taking a sample from the blood from the table, the floor, and Ana Garcia and any of the other possible suspects, this was then taken to a lab for blood typing. After taking this test and looking at the results, we can see that the blood belonged to Ana Garcia. Then, looking at the way the blood splattered across the table and the floor, we can indicate that Ana Garcia had hit her head on the table and then fallen to the floor. This is seeing the way the blood splatters and how it's mostly concentrated under the table. There is no blood found elsewhere at the scene, only on the table and on the floor. After the investigation was conducted, investigators looked at the evidence, seeing that Eric Piedmont had been the most present variable throughout all of the investigations. His fingerprints, his hair follicles, the lying through the polygraph test, and also the motive seen through his text messages and how he stopped liking her posts throughout her Instagram. This leads us to believe Eric Piedmont is the highest suspect and possibly the killer of Ana Garcia.